Hey everyone, so this video today is to discuss the class Flame Knight. Been a few comments asking what build I use, what spells, etc., gear, stats, gems, all the stuff you need to know. So what we'll do first is run through the talents of what I use for Blazer. So for Blazer, I go Passive Precepts for the extra crown. It's really good as well. Like if before games you can press Creeping Death and get your power to full before you burst. The other two aren't as good in all honesty. Like the Path of the Judgment, it doesn't deal that much different damage to the others, and the mana cost is not really important. Seal of Flame used to be good, but they nerfed it, so I use Seal of the Phoenix instead now. It's not so much about the stun, it's more about the slow, which I'll get to in a second. This is this Seal of Librisky is more for fours and BG. I don't really use it though, I really stick to that spell. But yeah, back to this spell, the reason why this spell is important and why you spec this spell is if you have a look at the Scrapple of Light, it says pulls your enemy and slows them by 50% for 4 seconds. I'll get to you later about the whole reason why that's important when we get into the burst combos. But anyways, back forward. 67 row Ironthorn Crown. I use it for single targeting only. Don't get confused though, this doesn't mean that your critical level is increased, it's just like a it's critical damage, so it's not an actual stat increase, it's more when you use crown, that's pretty much it. It doesn't do a hell of a lot. It's more out, to be honest, this spell I've noticed it crits more out of crown rather than in burst, so it's more like a it just keeps passive duration damage. It's good if you're playing like ranged, but most scenarios Flame Knights want to group. So this is why Fireflower Crown's so much better, because you stack then you burst and you deal twice as much damage. It's just way better and you get the proc. I haven't really used that much. I'm playing around with it still. 68 row. I use the speed for double DPS, but it's not really like that great. It works with Elemental, but nothing really else, to be honest. Might work with a melee, but yeah, I don't really use it as much. Everyone usually picks Hail of Destruction just because of the stun time and it deals damage. Silent Death, I've tried it, it's garbage. Silent Condemnation, I have used it in the past, it's really good. It silences when you're not in meta, so like when you go to, like when a caster is going to cast and you press it, it stuns them, but if you're in Metamorphosis and you press it, it doesn't work. The downfall with this spell now in this meta is there's too many tanks in arena and they spam aggro, so trying to use this spell with a tank constantly aggroing you is just not possible. So that's the reason why I have stuck with Energy Conversion, because you're going to get more crowns and more power this way over the chances of trying to get the healer with a silence stun. Inexhaustible Death I've never really used. Chosen One's good if your healer lacks well, it's more like a heavy CC team, so like if your healer can't top you up a lot, this spell tends to be good because it can remove Nightmare, which is that 7-second sleep spell, and all the other stuns. What it does is it reduces the stuns applied onto you. You can use it out of the burst as well, so you can just drop it and remove it off an ally, a stun. It's good, but most 90% of people use the Angel of Death because of the immunity. I use it as well. I sometimes pick and change between the two, but Angel of Death is better. This used to be good, but it's not as valuable as Angel of Death. Blazing Prayer. It's not as valuable as Slash and Burn. Like, it's good, but it's not as good as Slash and Burn. What it does is it's equal to 100%, 60% of your main hand weapon damage, which is kind of big. So if you've got like a Ramble weapon, this thing's going to hit like a truck. And that's really good. If you're playing double DPS, Kindled Spirit works really well. But I've only used it with a Flame Knight Garrison just because you get the haste boost. I'm not going to tell you that in this video, but the haste boost off the proc, it gives you like 50% haste. So when you're spamming crowns with infinite power regeneration, you can heal yourself back up to full. But when you don't have that extra haste boost, it's always recommended you pick Slash and Burn. So for gem setup, obviously my Flame Knight's not max geared. This is another Flame Knight that I had to gear. If you're trying to make a proper weapon for your Flame Knight, Rammer Lance is the one you have to pick. The broadsword's good, but it doesn't have the stats of the weapon that this has. This one just has more baseline damage. This is way better. So I've tried both, and I've always picked Lance, like after like recreating another tune. So yeah, if you're a Flame Knight, always pick Rammer's Lance. You can use Diploma Rings. They're probably recommended, especially if you verse against mages, because you can get one-shot by allies if you don't play right. So yeah, basically you can get them from the vendor, and you can just farm PCN and get the keys to upgrade them. I use 4/6 T7, which you can get from RML. It's pretty much you can go with a team and one-shot the boss, or you can just farm for hours normally. It doesn't matter how you do it. You need about 80 Doom Fragments, which are these currency, which I don't have on me right now. It's on my hero. But you get 80 Doom Fragments. You can get the blue piece, and then you upgrade them with the essences. But yeah, for most of my gear, I use stamina, crit, and attack power. The cape I'm using right now is a T5. T6 is obviously better. Yeah. Lava Jam, crit attack. I use the Resilience neck. 2 gem slot strength crit attack, so for shoulders and head. So the 2-set T6, you have to have 700 craft to craft these in the recipe book. They require essences as well, so it requires a bit of farm. But yeah, I use stamina crit for these as well, for both of them. The reason why I'm using the 2-set, so when you're 4-set T7, you get a gear mastery, and what it does is it will increase your weapon damage by 20%, which is kind of big. And then what this does, the 2-set T6, is increases the duration of that. So that's the reason why this bonus is such a good build. Obviously, if you verse double mages, so like an Ali SG, you don't want to use that. You want to use your 2-set PvP and your Revenger Trinket. But if you're not, use that first every other team, and you'll floor them. There's a Azura Cross, and it increases the Metamorphosis again by like another 5 seconds, so you will have 19 seconds Metamorphosis, which is kind of insane. And when you're spamming AoE Crown, it's gonna hit like a truck. So it's kind of good that you farm this stuff, because it will help you immensely. There's 2 trinkets you can get from SRL, which is kind of easy to get. They drop a lot. So there's Lord of the Covenant, which increases your attack bar by 300 for 15 seconds. Very good trinket. A lot of people use this one as well, the haste one, for 1100 attack. Basically, the difference between the two is this one, the top one that I'm using now, procs every 45 seconds. This one you can use it whenever you want, and it has I think it's a 1-minute cooldown. So either way, they both work really well. I know Logan uses the red one. I use the yellow one. I just like the duration. For weapon, So weapons, I use strength gems as well. So you have 4 strength gems in total. If you're trying to farm better crossbow, obviously the rammer crossbow is going to be the best pick if it's got the attack power in it. Anything with attack power and crit is obviously ideal. You can use the PvP S5 bow, the prismatic one, that works really well as well if you can't be fucked farming rammer. For burst rotation, it's really simple. You've got 2 bursts. So the first one is the one I commonly use. So it's always, like before I start, I use creeping and then run in and spark charge. I'll metamorphosis, instant Carlin, drop my flame, target the other person, pull in, stun both when he uses free wills, spam 2 crowns, silence, spam 2 crowns, spark charge, spam 2 charges, creep, 2, and then pull him back in. That's the one that I use. The other one's better though. So like it depends on the comp. So like if you're versing like say for instance a very fast running class or a class that has a lot of immunity like a Stargazer for instance, you want to rotate your burst the other way around. So you want to use, where is it? Okay, so this was my old one. This was like my season 5 set. Okay. It's really important you use this one. It's really good. I'm missing something, I think. Okay, so the difference between my other burst and this burst, so this is the second burst, so it's the same thing. You creep depth to get full power. Or to almost. Okay, when you see the target, you spark charge, your meta, run taunt, stun, use your AoE flame, Carlin, 2 crown. If they free will, then you pull. So like if they free will now, you pull in, then they get the 50% slow and the 2-second stun. You keep crowning, spark charge, creep, crown. Now the reason why a lot of teams are using the Halo before the pull is because when you pull, most people tend to use the Master of Horror when they're with their healer, and then what happens is they use their free will trinket, which is that one. But the reason why you use Halo before grapple is because they won't free will twice, and if they do, they're done. When they free will the Angel of Halo and then you pull, they get the slow after the stun, so they constantly slowed. And then the other thing is they're full slow, which means they can't move because Carlin also gives it slow, which is this spell, Carlin's Blessing. So it also deals 20% damage to and triggers a slow for 10. So they get about 80% slow. That's why they use the Angel of Halo before they use the pull. But either way, both way works. If you're good with your healer, both work. So I hope that helps you out. Yeah, again, Azura's Cross is better than Revenger. If you get that, then awesome, but you'll need to get 2701 rank in order to do it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Peace.